there's what we want to write, and then there's what we do write. And I think sometimes people put a lot of emphasis on what they want to write. And it's like, no, 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 no. What you have written is much more exciting than what you want to write. So let's focus on that, and sort of get rid of all of these expectations of what we wanted to do, but rather what we have done and see where the possibilities sort of emanate from that. I snuck into my sister's room and read her diary. There was a sort of cadence there that I loved, that I was like, I could do that. That I stole from her. I sort of carried with me ever since. What I was always surprised by people's reaction was how honest they claimed I was being, when I was just writing what I was feeling or whatever, and people were like, "Oh, you're being so vulnerable." And I was like, "I don't know what that means," but thank you. Don't seem to mind people knowing lots of things about me, and I really don't seem to mind looking bad. And I think that's a really hard thing for new people to the genre, to sort of get over. I've just been a person who figured out how to make loneliness useful and sort of weaponized my own solitude to do something else. Just because I like being by myself and I like hanging out by myself a lot, and sitting in front of a screen is just one way to make use of that time. Because there are only so many comic books I can read. I try to read them all, but there are only so many. It's when somebody has a wild piece of energy in the work that not necessarily is working right now, but sort of seems like, whoa, this is a weird shift of energy. And to take that energy shift seriously, instead of just being like, edit that out because it doesn't match everything else. Instead, to be like, well, let's spend some time on this. Why is this energy sort of new and serious? What can we do with this energy? I find that to be really helpful, especially in my own writing, because it's those times when the unconscious or the subconscious sort of sneaks around and gets something out on the typewriter itself. And those are moments that are to be celebrated, not to be edited out. Those are moments that I've found in my students' work and in my own work to be the most profitable locations of newness. Taking the work as what it wants to be, but taking the work as what it could be, and being able to see the difference between that. I'm not a connoisseur of craft books. Vivian Gornick's The Situation in the Story, I think, is as good as it gets. I also read, poetry craft books, because I feel like poetry taught me how to write a sentence. And that is so worth it. And memoir and the essay, both are indebted to poetry so much that I feel like I feel like it's worth it. And Tony Hoagland has a book called The Art of Voice. And then Robert Boswell has a book, The Half Known World. I think Beth Kephart writes really good craft books. Writing is a kind of thinking. Writing isn't like dictation. We're not taking dictation from the consciousness. Instead, writing is its own sort of active kind of thinking. And like learning how to give yourself over to that is a long-term project. Like still in my life, I'm still sort of struggling with it, because I'll sit down with essays that I want to write and I end up writing something different. And like learning that that's what writing is. And that's actually the most exciting part of writing, is that discovery and that sort of, how did I end up here?